Hello everyone, almost welcome to our YouTube channel once again. Before you, my name is Mosuya Margaret, and today we are going to cover areas concerning plagiarism. Let us first begin by seeing this. So, plagiarism. So for us, we're going to start by defining what plagiarism is. Therefore, for the definition of plagiarism, we can define it as the intentional or negligent use of phrase or direct quotation of a published or unpublished work of another person without full and clear acknowledgement in all. Therefore, it can also be defined in the second way as the unacknowledged use of materials prepared by another person or agency engaged in selling of term papers or other academic materials. That's what plagiarism can be defined as. So if we go to our next slide, we're going to look at types of plagiarism. Of course, there are different types of plagiarism. There are very many kinds. First of all, let's begin by talking about direct plagiarism, of which another term for direct plagiarism is verbatim plagiarism. And you can say that for concerning that this type of plagiarism it concerns with word-for-word transcription of a section of someone else's work without attribution and without quotation marks. Here we say that when you're using somebody else's work and don't put quotation marks or attributions, that's direct plagiarism. However, this direct plagiarism can also be further defined as a type of plagiarism that occurs when someone just copies and presents person's words, ideas, or work without any changes, proper citations, or credit. Here we see that when someone is using someone else's work, they must give credit by acknowledging that person, especially this is possible through citations. So if you don't include citations in your work and you're copying exactly what that person's words are, that is direct plagiarism. So concerning this type of plagiarism, let's go and look at its examples. First of all, if we look at plagiarism, the first example is copying text verbatim. Verbatim means direct. You just copy the text directly. So it involves copying a sentence, paragraph, or entire text from another source without any changes. That is to say, we can say that if the original text is the impact of climate change on global food systems is a pressing concern, then for you, if it is direct plagiarism, you just say that the pressing change of climate change on the pressing concern of climate change on global food systems is a pressing concern. Therefore, this one is exactly direct plagiarism. If you are to look once again, you can see that another example of direct plagiarism is copying sentences or phrases. So we can say that this one involves copying individual sentences or phrases from another source without proper citation. So that is to say that for instance, if our original text is the new policy aims to reduce carbon emissions by 50%, then for you, if you're looking at direct plagiarism, what you would say is that the new policy aims to reduce carbon emission by 50%. Here shows that you have not changed anything and you don't quote. That's direct plagiarism. Quoting is not indicated. So next thing is that when using someone else's work as your own, for instance, it involves presenting someone else's work such as research paper, essay, project as your own. That is to say, submitting a friend's or a professional work as your own assignment. That is also an example of direct plagiarism, meaning that if you give your work out to be used, yet the work is for someone else, and you use it as your own assignment. So that is direct plagiarism. Then another thing that we are going to talk about, which is another type of plagiarism, is called mosaic plagiarism or patchwork. So concerning mosaic plagiarism, we can say that it involves combining original material with a plagiarized material. You combine the original with the plagiarized content. For instance, we can also change and say that this mosaic plagiarism or patchwork, it also involves borrowing phrases or terms from a source without credit. Even if you mix them with your own words, it would be better if you put citation, but if you don't put citations, this is mosaic plagiarism. Therefore, let's look at some examples of mosaic plagiarism. And one of them that we are going to look at is this. That is combining sentences from different sources. Let me say mixing and matching sentences. This one here, it's mainly, first of all, mixing and matching sentences. This involves taking from direct sources and combining them to create a new paragraph. That is to say, for instance, let's see this example, which is part of that. The first text is climate change is a pressing concern. Then the second original text is it has several impacts on global food systems. So if something is plagiarized, we just combine the two sentences from the different sources. So we shall just say climate change is a pressing concern and it has several impacts on global systems, affecting not only the environment but also human health and economies. Therefore, here if we see they combine the first line statement, if we look at the first line of the plagiarized text, which is climate change is a pressing concern and it has several impacts on global systems, and somebody added their own words affecting not only the environment but also human health and economies. Yeah, this is plagiarism because this person just quoted the whole statement without acknowledging the sources of these sentences. So that's one example of mosaic plagiarism or patchwork. Next example is creating a new paragraph from multiple sources. So as that it involves taking phrases or sentences from multiple sources and combining them to create a new paragraph. So that is to say that if the original text is that this new policy aims to reduce carbon emissions, and the next second original text is this goal is aligned with the Paris Agreement, then here we shall also have the third sentence because these are different sentences from multiple sources. So the third sentence will be the policy also promotes sustainable development. Yes, that these three connect a bit as if the first original text explains that gives a way for the explanation to be the second text, and the second text also gives way for the third original text to explain it. But if you are to look at the plagiarized text, it combines all the three sentences. So it says the new policy aims to reduce carbon emission, aligning with the Paris agreements and promoting sustainable development to ensure a better future. Here, the only thing this person who is plagiarizing added was to ensure a better future. But combining these sentences and the author or the source is not acknowledged is plagiarism. So this is a type of plagiarism which is mosaic, because even the what the person who is carrying out plagiarism added his own words to the sources, but he didn't cite where he got the words from the other sources. So it's better to cite or put quotation marks. Then the next one, another example, the second example of mosaic plagiarism is using plagiarized phrases in original sentences. For instance, we can say that the first one is incorporating plagiarized phrases. It means incorporating phrases or words into original sentences. That is to say, if the original text it says the innovative plan which aims to reduce carbon emissions is a step in the right direction. That's an original text which must be quote having quotation marks and cited so that the source is included and the author. But look at the plagiarized statement. It will say the new policy is a step in the right direction, aims to reduce carbon emissions and promote sustainable development. Here you see that this person who is carrying out plagiarism added his or her own words in addition to the statement that is the original text, but in addition he or she did not cite. So that's what we can say. Like an example. So next you're going to look at using plagiarized words or phrases in the text in a new context. So if we see here, this one specifically, it involves using plagiarized words or phrases in a new context, making it appear as original work. Here, the person who is carrying out plagiarism makes sure that the new context appears like the original, but actually it's not the original work. For instance, we can say that if the original text is the company's financial situation is precarious, then the plagiarized text would be the economic outlook for the industry is precarious, with many companies facing significant challenges. So this appears like the original text but is a plagiarized text. So this is what that example talks about. Next major example, which is the third one, is creating a new work from multiple sources. And first of all, we are going to think about this first subdivision, which is combining ideas from multiple sources. So concerning that, it involves combining ideas, multiple concepts, or research findings from multiple sources to create a new work. That is to say, if the original text is climate change has several impacts on global food systems, then the second original text is the effects of climate change on agriculture are far-reaching. Therefore, the plagiarized text would be climate change has devastating effects on global food. This one just changed one word. Instead of saying several impacts, just said devastating effects. Then this person went ahead to say that on global food systems impacting agriculture, human health, and economies. That's a form of plagiarism. Next, let's look at another subdivision, which is using multiple sources to support a new argument. So this one involves using multiple sources, meaning more than one source to support a new argument or perspective without properly citing the original sources. That is to say that original text first one would be the new policy meant to reduce carbon emissions, and the second one would be the goal is aligned with Paris Agreement. So the plagiarized text would be the new policy is a crucial step towards reducing carbon emissions and promoting sustainable development, aligning with international agreements and supporting a better future. That's what using one processor to support a new argument would look like. So next year, let's look at self-plagiarism, which is a third type of plagiarism that we're looking at today. So if you are to define it, this self-plagiarism, it involves using your previous work without permission or acknowledgement from the involved professors. In case like you done your work, you have presented it to the professor or to your lecturers or to your tutor, whoever is maybe teaching you or guiding you in some way, and you use the same piece of work without permission from that lecturer. That is called self-plagiarism. So concerning this self-plagiarism, let's see some of the examples. First of all, we can say that using a previous assignment without permission. Here we see that submitting a revised version of a previous assignment or paper without citing the original work. That is to say, the student submits a paper on a topic they previously wrote about using similar arguments and evidence without citing the original paper. Here we see that when submitting a paper without citing the original paper, that's self-plagiarism. So another example of self-plagiarism is publishing the same work in multiple publications. So you can see that even if it's your work and publish it more than one publication, that's plagiarism. You can say that involves submitting the same article, paper, or chapter to multiple publications such as journals, conferences, or books without proper disclosure. So that is to say, an author publishes an article in a journal and then submits the same article to a conference or another journal without citing the original publication. Meaning that even if you're an author, when submitting your article, make sure that you've also included the original publication where you published the source, meaning that include the source where you published that article that you're putting in a certain journal. So another thing concerning self-plagiarism is using a previously published material without citation. Using a previously published material such as figures, tables, or text without proper citation or credit. That is to say, a researcher submits a paper based on the previous thesis or dissertation without citing the original work. That is plagiarism. So there are many ways we can avoid plagiarism, and first of all, we can begin by saying that we should use proper citations, especially in in-text citations like APA, MLA, Chicago system, depending on your discipline, and quotations should be included in the source, and paraphrasing. Information that you paraphrase well. Concerning paraphrasing, you should even when rephrasing someone's ideas in your own words, you still need to cite the source. So let's go to the next is you should paraphrase correctly. Then we should also make sure that at least you manage sources carefully by keeping track of the sources and separate your ideas from those of others. So that's what you can say concerning how to avoid plagiarism. Please Say no to plagiarism, and please tell others to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism, if I'm to conclude as we are ending that, plagiarism can even cost you your job. It can lower your integrity. So please, it's my request that you stay from plagiarism. So thank you very much. I've come to the end of today's session, and please, it's my humble request that if this information has been of great use to you, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with someone if it's of great use to you. So please like. Thank you very much. I wish you a blessed day.